Technological revolution. The advent of the iPhone in 2007 catalyzed a new era of digital integration, reshaping human interaction with technology and daily life. Rise of big tech. Companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, and others have transformed communication and information accessibility, creating a digital ecosystem that connects billions globally. Democratization of knowledge. Big tech has made vast repositories of knowledge accessible, empowering self learners and transforming economic landscapes, especially in emerging economies. Innovative frontiers. Significant investments in AI, quantum computing, and machine learning by big tech are driving advancements across various sectors, including healthcare, education, and environmental sustainability. Economic impact. The economic influence of big tech is profound, generating millions of jobs and creating new industries, while providing essential infrastructure that supports our data-driven society. Crisis response. During global challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, these companies proved crucial in maintaining economic and social continuity, facilitating remote work and education. Regulatory challenges. Big tech faces increasing scrutiny and potential regulation, particularly in the US, where several bills aim to enhance competition, data privacy, and transparency. Need for global cooperation. Unilateral regulation could fragment the global digital landscape. An international approach is essential for effective governance that matches the borderless nature of technology. Collaborative framework. A tripartite alliance of tech companies, governments, and civil society is necessary to address ethical AI development, data protection, and algorithmic bias. Content moderation. Developing a tiered, internationally coordinated system for content moderation can help balance free expression with public safety. Future of technology. As we navigate this technological revolution, it is crucial to harness the power of big tech responsibly, ensuring it serves as a force for universal progress and enlightenment. Crux. The rapid evolution of technology, driven by big tech, presents both remarkable opportunities and significant challenges. While these companies have transformed access to information and fostered global connectivity, they also face pressing regulatory scrutiny and ethical dilemmas. To ensure a balanced future, a collaborative framework involving all stakeholders is essential to navigate the complexities of innovation, competition, and content moderation while promoting inclusivity and protecting user rights. By doing so, we can shape technology into a catalyst for collective advancement rather than a source of division. Constitutional hardball. Mark Tushnet defines this concept as actions that are legally permissible but undermine existing constitutional understandings. The current attempts by the government to pass the 26th Constitutional Amendment raise concerns about its true intentions. Amendment overview. The proposed amendment seeks to strip the Supreme Court of its constitutional jurisdiction and transfer certain cases to a newly formed constitutional court. The appointment of judges to this court would be heavily influenced by the executive branch. Judicial independence at risk. The amendment would allow the President and Prime Minister to handpick judges for the Constitutional Court, undermining the independence of the judiciary. These judges would also sit on the Supreme Judicial Council, potentially creating conflicts of interest. Government justifications. The government claims that the Supreme Court's focus on constitutional matters delays civil and criminal cases and hampers governance. However, evidence suggests that constitutional cases represent a small fraction of overall cases, and that systemic issues are the real cause of delays in the justice system. Legislative maneuvering. The government's actions are seen as an attempt to diminish judicial power and control the judiciary under the guise of reclaiming parliamentary sovereignty, while also marginalizing dissenting judges. Exclusion of public input. The lack of transparency in the amendment process raises significant democratic concerns. The absence of public engagement undermines the Constitution's role as a social contract between the state and its citizens. Potential consequences. The amendment could exacerbate tensions between the judiciary and the executive, leading to a potential constitutional crisis. The broader implications for democratic governance in Pakistan are troubling. Crux. The 26th constitutional amendment appears to be a strategic move by the government to consolidate power and undermine judicial independence under the pretext of enhancing parliamentary sovereignty. While framed as a reform for efficiency in the justice system, it risks entrenching executive control over the judiciary, marginalizing dissent, and excluding public participation in constitutional processes. This maneuvering not only threatens the rule of law, but also raises the specter of a constitutional crisis, further destabilizing Pakistan's democratic framework. Climate change indicator. Sea level rise is a critical indicator of global warming, driven primarily by the melting of glaciers and thermal expansion of seawater due to increased temperatures. Record highs. The year 2023 was confirmed as the hottest on record, with sea levels reaching unprecedented heights, as reported by the World Meteorological Organization, WMO. Impact on coastal communities. Nearly 40% of the global population lives within 100 kilometers of the coast, making urban centers in developing countries particularly vulnerable. Cities like Mumbai, Bangkok, and Karachi face significant risks. Displacement risks. The World Bank predicts that over 216 million people could be displaced by sea level rise by 2050, especially in low-lying coastal areas. Ecological and economic consequences. Rising sea levels lead to coastal erosion, habitat loss, and saltwater intrusion, adversely affecting agriculture and freshwater ecosystems. Legal and human rights implications. Land loss raises complex issues related to international law, including the status of displaced communities, maritime boundaries, and economic zones. International response. The UN has been actively addressing these issues through resolutions and discussions at various forums, emphasizing the need for urgent climate action and support for developing countries. Mitigation strategies. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is crucial to controlling sea level rise. Developing countries are encouraged to incorporate sea level rise into climate risk assessments and adopt nature-based solutions, such as expanding mangrove forests, to enhance resilience. Crux. Sea level rise, driven by climate change, poses a multifaceted threat to millions globally, particularly in vulnerable coastal communities. The implications extend beyond environmental degradation to legal and human rights challenges, as displacement and habitat loss become increasingly likely. Urgent international cooperation and robust climate action are necessary to mitigate these risks and support affected populations. Integrating ecosystem-based adaptation strategies will be crucial for safeguarding livelihoods and maintaining ecological balance. Balochistan's infrastructure. Chief Minister Sarfraz Bugti highlighted the province's 4,000 miles of highways, emphasizing the challenge of combating terrorism when infrastructure facilitates movement for attackers. Terrorism versus grievances. While addressing the socioeconomic grievances of the Baloch people is crucial, the immediate threat posed by groups like the Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, must not be overshadowed. Strategic planning of attacks. The BLA's recent attacks demonstrate strategic planning and a clear intent to challenge the state's authority, as evidenced by coordinated assaults that resulted in significant loss of life and disruption of transport links. Foreign support for the BLA. There are indications that the BLA receives armed support and training from foreign powers, complicating the security landscape in Balochistan. Regional dynamics. Iran's struggles with terrorism in its own Sistan-Baluchistan province and Afghanistan's complex relationship with Pakistan play significant roles in the Balochistan situation. Impact of Gwadar Port. Gwadar's strategic location is vital for trade, particularly concerning Chinese logistics via the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. The port's development has drawn attention from foreign powers wary of its implications for regional trade dynamics. Youth radicalization. The BLA's influence on the youth, highlighted by the government's list of implicated students, underscores a troubling trend of radicalization among younger generations. Geopolitical interests. The Balochistan issue transcends local concerns, intertwining with broader geopolitical interests, particularly regarding CPEC and its implications for regional infrastructure. Conclusion. The situation in Balochistan is a complex interplay of local grievances, terrorism, and geopolitical strategies. Addressing the BLA's threats requires a multifaceted approach that balances immediate security needs with long-term socioeconomic development, while also navigating the intricate regional dynamics at play. Enhanced cooperation between Pakistan and key partners, particularly China, may be essential to countering external influences that exploit the Balochistan situation for their own interests. Doctrine of necessity, the concept historically used to justify overreach by authorities, is argued to be re-emerging under the current regime, disguised as necessary reforms for the judiciary. Legislative overreach, the government's actions are seen as a blatant attack on the constitutional order, particularly through legislation that undermines judicial authority under the guise of reform. Judicial confrontation, the insistence on a two-thirds majority and refusal to concede any seats to the opposition, suggest an underlying agenda to establish a new constitutional court that would dilute the power of the judiciary. Independence of judges, the government's frustrations seem rooted in the judiciary's independence, particularly evident in the Supreme Court's recent rulings that counter the regime's interests. Historical context. Past governments have obeyed Supreme Court orders, emphasizing a tradition of respect for judicial authority that is now being challenged. Ignoring court orders. The collaboration between the government and the Election Commission to ignore a Supreme Court directive on elections reflects a troubling trend of disrespect towards judicial rulings. Responsibility of leadership. Leaders like Nawaz Sharif are urged to take a stand against internal party pressures that seek to undermine state institutions, highlighting the precariousness of democratic governance in Pakistan. Risk to democracy. If the current trajectory continues unchecked, it poses a significant risk to the future of democracy in Pakistan, suggesting a potential shift away from established norms of governance. Conclusion. The ongoing tensions between the government and judiciary raise critical concerns about the balance of power in Pakistan. The insistence on reforming judicial structures without genuine intent to enhance justice points to deeper issues of governance. The actions of the current regime, if left unaddressed, could jeopardize the foundational principles of democracy, necessitating a collective response from political leaders to protect institutional integrity. Rising cases. Pakistan's polio cases have surged from 6 in the first half of the year to 18, with Balochistan being the epicenter, accounting for 13 cases. Recent incidents. The latest victim was a 2-year-old boy from Quetta, following the death of another child in Karan, highlighting the ongoing threat. Vaccination efforts. Despite administering over 300 million vaccine doses annually, the country has not achieved a polio-free status, indicating systemic issues in the vaccination campaign. Historical context. The reduction of cases to single digits in previous years demonstrates that control is possible, but requires renewed commitment and focus. Barriers to vaccination. Security concerns, ongoing violence against polio workers, with at least 17 reported killings this year, hampers vaccination efforts. Cultural misconceptions. Misbeliefs regarding the vaccine's safety and efficacy lead to refusals. Some families are demanding basic services as a condition for vaccination. Disinformation campaigns. Misinformation about vaccine contamination and infertility fuels hesitance. Unique objections, such as superstitious beliefs about gender outcomes, further complicate the situation. Inflated coverage reporting. Allegations of inflated vaccination numbers by officials undermine trust and could mislead foreign aid efforts. Recommendations for action. Counter disinformation. The government should actively engage in awareness campaigns to combat myths surrounding vaccines. Protection for workers. Increased security measures are crucial to safeguard polio workers and ensure their safety while conducting vaccination drives. Address civic issues. Resolving basic infrastructural problems, such as water and electricity, may encourage community support for vaccination efforts. Transparency in reporting. Ensuring accurate reporting of vaccination data will build trust and facilitate better foreign support and accountability. Conclusion. Urgent action is needed to prevent a full-blown polio crisis in Pakistan. By addressing the root causes of vaccine hesitancy, ensuring the safety of health workers, and promoting transparency, the state can renew its commitment to achieving a polio-free future. The collective effort of government, communities, and international partners is essential to overcome this challenge.